Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning. And today, we've got another 20 gauge combination that we haven't tested yet, and one that I don't know what kind of results we're going to see from. The gun and choke has been a fantastic combination for us, but these shells, on the other hand, have been pretty disappointing across the board. So I guess there's always a chance we see a decent result, but I think it's going to come down to what the shells are able to actually do for us today. And as for the shells we've got, I brought out some of the Remington Nitro Turkey shells. They are a 20 gauge, 3-inch, 1 1/4 ounce payload of number 5 shot, moving about 1185 feet per second. And I mean, they are lead 5s in a 20 gauge, so you're not going to have the amount of shot that are in a 12 gauge shell, but the Nitro Turkeys across the board have been rather disappointing. So maybe they might work out through today's setup, maybe they won't. We're just going to have to see what happens. And as for that setup we've got out here today, I brought out the Stevens 301 20 gauge with this choke, which is the Cabela's Blackmaxx 575 constriction turkey choke. And for being like a $30 or $35 choke, this has really been a good performer for us through this 301. So in theory, it should help these Nitro Turkeys out today, but I think it's just going to come down to how good those shells can actually perform, more so than what the choke and shotgun are capable of. But as for the test today, everything is the same as usual. Turkey target is set up at 40 yards. Got the chronograph so we can get our velocity out of these shells as well. So we'll get you guys a view of the target. We'll take the shot, look at the chrono, and then go down and look at our results. I don't necessarily expect anything outstanding today as for a pattern, but I really hope it surprises us because we know we have a good setup. We just don't know if we have a good shell or not. But let's go over here and take this shot and just see what kind of a pattern it can actually give us. All right, so that round gave us 1172 through the chrono. The boss claims 1185, so yeah, that's what, 13 feet per second under their claim, so I think we're pretty much right where we should be as far as velocity goes. But how well did they actually perform down there at 40 yards? Let's go take a look and see what kind of a pattern they gave us. All right, now we're down here at our 40-yard target, and this is what we got. And I gotta say, this was one of the worst Birchwood Casey targets that we've had yet. As you can see, I had to get the paint marker out for it, as it didn't even try to flake off. And I apologize for the smear there, but my paint marker decided to kind of blow up on me a little bit, so it is what it is, I guess. But I think we can still see what we need to see here. We would have had a dead bird. There's 3 through the brain there, and a couple more down the spine. So, a lead 5 at 40 yards. It's absolutely good enough to get you a bird. Looking at the rest of the pattern here, it's a little bit different story. Definitely very splotchy, very broad, kind of all over the paper. There's pellets just all over the place. There's not much of this paper that doesn't have a pellet on it or near it. And our core, although we might have been just a touch off to the right, maybe, well, we really don't have a core. It is really no different than pretty much anywhere else on the pattern here. So, although, yeah, it does give you leeway, and there is a wide swath of area there that bird could move to and still get hit with pellets, it's not very pretty looking, that's for sure. And overall, it's really about what we expected to see out of these shells, really, I think. The Nitro Turkeys have been rather disappointing all the way across the board, 12 gauge, 20 gauge, whatever. This is about typical for what we've seen through them. They just are on the edge of being, yeah, technically they're good enough, but they're not anything that I would want to use for a turkey shell. Maybe if you were taking like a youth hunter out with a 20 gauge and you were gonna have them taking a 20-yard shot, then sure, something like that would work. It would give them a little bit more leeway. But as for me, and I think a lot of you guys, that's just not good enough for us. I mean, I'll get in a little bit closer because there's just too many voids in here to just circle in editing, but it's kind of just splotchy all over the place. Nothing amazing, that's for sure. Technically good enough to get you the turkey, but it's about what we expected to see. A disappointing result across the board, really. Definitely nothing too surprising, but it's not anything that I would want to use in my turkey setup, that's for sure. Okay, and here's the wad from that shell, and it actually flew all the way down and hit the turkey paper, but it looks pretty much standard for how these Remington wads usually look, and it did go through that ported choke, so it is a little bit banged up. It's definitely not perfect by any means, but it's nothing out of the ordinary either. This is pretty much what I would expect to see out of these shells, these wads through that kind of a choke, but there's nothing stuck down in there, which is always a bonus, I guess. But either way, even though it looks a little rough, it's not anything unexpected for these shells either. And I just think if they had a little bit more buffer material or were copper plated and maybe had a little bit better of a wad design or something, these shells might be decent performers. But as for the wad today, not perfect, but not unexpected either. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that pattern right there? Definitely nothing pretty, nothing amazing. Yeah, technically it is good enough to do the job, but it's not something that I'm looking for in my turkey setups, that's for sure. And I'm willing to bet a lot of you guys think the same way. If you were on a really cheap budget and knew that you were going to be taking a shot at 20, 25 yards, then yeah, absolutely go for it. That would be a perfectly fine shell for you. But at 40 yards, that's pushing it in my opinion for what I like to see anyway. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you hoping for better? If you've tested these Nitro Turkey 20 gauge shells or the Nitro Turkeys in general, how have they done for you? And if there's another setup or combo or choke or anything like that you want to see us try those through out of that 20 gauge, then by all means let me know that as well. But as for today, pretty much the expected disappointing results out of them. Nothing that we haven't seen already out of these Nitro Turkeys, and nothing special, that's for sure. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information would be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.